say that the world of today is characterized by an unprecedented level of complexity and conflict. Educators must teach students to approach contested issues by examining all sides. Seeking out diverse perspectives can be hoped to prepare students to contribute to a more peaceful, just, and resilient societies. As an introduction, let me say conflict defines our age. If we just have to look at the newspapers to see how much there is talk about conflict, there is war, there is unrest between countries, there is polarization within societies, and even within school walls, where young minds encounter differences, diversity, and often misunderstanding is common. We also know of incidents like bullying or ragging, which unfortunately affect our educational institutions. I believe the role of educators is central, not only in shaping intellect, but also in guiding hearts towards empathy, respect, and constructive resolution of problems in the world. Let me begin by talking about the conflict in the world. Nicey mentioned a few things. Let me say that the world of today is characterized by an unprecedented level of complexity and conflict. State, State-based armed conflicts have reached historic heights. In 2024, there were 61 conflicts across 36 countries, the most recorded since World War II, and 2025 shows no sign of this trend abating. Major wars in Ukraine, Gaza, Sudan, and simmering disputes from South Asia to the Sahel illustrate the persistence and deepening of violent crisis. The 2025 Global Peace Index states that we are witnessing a record decline in global peacefulness with rising conflict deaths, heightened geopolitical competition, and a breakdown of mechanisms for negotiation and conflict resolution. The United Nations, as most of you know, sadly stands powerless and in many ways defunct when it comes to these political problems and in terms of meeting its fundamental challenge of preventing conflict. Of course, I add here that the United Nations is nothing but an organization of states. It is not a world government. It's not a supranational entity. So whatever the United Nations says and does only reflects the mood of the states who are its members and the actions of states, whatever they are willing to do or whatever they are unwilling to do. We can have a greater discussion in the interactive part of this evening. Let me say that more and more countries, middle powers, including India, are asserting themselves. Alliances across the world are realigning, and major powers like the United States, China, and Russia are increasingly at odds. All the while, weak states are overwhelmed. Many weak states in many parts of the world are overwhelmed by internal strife and international disengagement. The world globalization is receding in many ways, also held by President Trump, who is a vigorous champion of America first. There has been a great debate about the very nature of the international system among scholars and policymakers who question whether what we observe is a world order anymore and whether we should now describe it as a growing world disorder or a world marked by chaos. The consensus around rules and norms that once formed the backbone of the post-Cold War order is fragmenting, fueling concerns that we have transitioned from a mostly ordered world to one where disorder and unpredictability predominate. Let me add here that there are also scholars who say that the previous order was biased in favor of a few countries or powerful countries, the big five, so to speak. So in some ways, a breakdown of the order is not a bad thing if we can create something new in its place, which is more democratic, which is more equitable. In such a divided and rapidly changing landscape, it is imperative that students learn not just the facts of individual conflicts, but the skills to understand and analyze them critically. Educators must teach students to approach contested issues by examining all sides, seeking out diverse perspectives, and understanding both the historical roots and the contemporary dynamics of disputes. This multidimensional engagement enables young people to discern bias, to recognize complexity, and to develop empathy for those affected by the conflict. Furthermore, students need to practice exploring compromises and conclusions. Few conflicts today end in decisive victories or neatly negotiated settlements. Most are persistent, forever wars, marked by shifting alliances and deeply embedded grievances. The most recent round of tensions between India and Pakistan, Operation Sindoor, also probably fall within this category. Teaching students how to weigh conflicting situations, conflicting interests, how to search for common ground, and accept the imperfect nature of real world problem solving is crucial preparation for democratic citizenship and responsible global engagement. Only by confronting the realities of a conflict ridden and often disordered world, and by teaching critical engagement, balanced analysis, and compromise, can we hope to prepare students to contribute to a more peaceful, just, and resilient societies. Let me bring in my personal examples here. I teach a course at the OP Jindal Global University called Art of Negotiations Through Simulated Exercises. And what I seek to do there is with a class whose average is 40 to divide them into different groups and get them to role play. I encourage them to do research on their own, to study, to prepare written as well as material for an oral presentation, and to come out into class and argue the position of each country. This way, I give them an opportunity to see the other side of the issue and to look at problems from a fresh perspective, not merely what is handed down by mainstream media or what appears in the print media, much of which often is biased towards one side or the other or is incomplete. For example, on India-Pakistan issues or on India-China issues, I get my students to role play both sides. India and China debating the border conflict, debating the Tibet issue, India and Pakistan debating the Kashmir issue, terrorism. Similarly, I have US and China debating with each other, Israel and Arab countries debating Palestine, Russia and Ukraine negotiating with each other, and so on. And I try and also sometimes bring in domestic components, for example, the Northeast, and I try and simulate a situation where representatives of the Ministry of Home Affairs are arguing with a cross section of representatives from the Northeast on the need to understand the grievances of the Northeast, to find solutions for them, to see what solutions can emerge through discussion and through negotiation, and how autonomy can be given greater meaning within the Indian Constitution, and what kind of examples exist in the past where people who were previously armed groups or people who were fighting against the government of India, against the state of India, have subsequently come into the mainstream, adopted democratic means, and become part of the democratic mainstream. So through self-study, through research, through role play, through public articulation of viewpoints of different actors and through peer learning. I try and bring into students an understanding of the complexity of issues, the diversity of perspectives, and the need for empathy and understanding for each other if problems have to be solved and if negotiations have to succeed in moving all parties towards a better solution, not an ideal solution. Ideal solutions may not be possible, but at least a gradual incremental progress that improves the lot of everyone. To go back to my remarks, let me say that as you would have seen, I focus so far on the international situation, but conflict is something which is natural, which is in every aspect of our society. It emerges from differences in interests, differences in values and perspectives. In India's diverse society, students come from myriad backgrounds. They bring with them unique experiences and sometimes biases. These differences can, on one hand, spark incredible creativity, but on the other hand, also produce discords. As educators, your response to conflict, whether it be between nations, whether it be between communities, or even two children disputing in a class, should be your response should be a model for students on how to navigate a complex world. Every classroom is a microcosm of society. Whether the issue is bullying of one student by the others, a group of one weak student, whether it be questions of cultural misunderstanding, and in a country of our diversity, that is very easy, or whether it be of gross instances of social injustice, which also we can find within our country. We must remember that students observe and learn from teachers on how to address these challenges. Education for peace is therefore an urgent national and global concern. This is something which has been highlighted in the national curriculum framework prepared by the NCRT, and it is our responsibility to make our classrooms laboratories for peace. India's rich history, rich with both conflict and coexistence, offers valuable lessons. From the teachings of Mahatma Gandhi to the wisdom contained in our ancient literature, in our epics, in our Vedas, in the texts of every religion, there are ample resources, ample stories that can illustrate the power of nonviolence, compromise, and mutual respect. We must draw upon this. We must adapt them to today's needs, and we must keep our nations' emphasis on peace, on nonviolence, always at the center. Not just our nations, let me say, our worlds, our societies, everybody's need for peace at the center of all our efforts. In conclusion, the pathway to understanding our conflict-ridden world begins with number one, equipping the next generation with skills to resolve differences peacefully, to respect diversity, and to courageously engage with challenging issues. We must understand and teach that conflict is not a problem to be avoided, but an opportunity to build skills of communication, understanding, and empathy, and to find solutions in the interest of all. Our classrooms are ground zero for shaping a more peaceful and resilient India. You as teachers, your actions, your words, and sometimes even your silences teach far more than content can ever teach. Let us all rise together to the challenge and privilege of educating for peace. Let us work so that our classrooms and through them our society become places where conflict breeds not violence, but understanding and positive change. Thank you very much. Namaste.